was doing homework and I went out in the woods for a quick jog like I do sometimes. When I came back, the door was kicked open.
And when you said the door was kicked in, the front door or the back door?
Our garage door. It's where pretty much everyone goes in.
And you found her in her room?
Yes.
And she has a bullet hole?
Yes. There was not just one. I think there was a couple in her head.
On September 15, 2010, 15-year-old Nate Anderson's world crumbled to dust when he was horrified to discover his 19-year-old sister, Amanda Anderson, murdered in their own home. He was completely devastated and felt an overwhelming sense of loss when he reported Amanda's murder to 911.
The deputy called me and he said, "Sheriff, you're not going to believe that."
We got a 911 call from a 15-year-old boy that said he had just gotten home and he'd found his sister shot to death.
However, when the detectives arrived at the crime scene, what they uncovered would haunt them for years, making it one of the most challenging cases of their career.
We have got a shooting with my dad. We hunt, so I could kind of smell a little bit of what it smells like after you shoot a gun.
There's only one way to get high-velocity blood spatter on yourself. Either you're standing by the shooter or you are the shooter.
On the ordinary evening of September 15, 2010, Nate Anderson went for his routine jog. Upon his return, he was alarmed to see the door of his house wide open. As he entered the house, what met his sight was a scene of unimaginable horror. Amanda was lying lifeless and covered in blood in her room. She had been mercilessly shot in the head. Nate cried tirelessly, unable to accept the horrifying reality. As neither of his parents were home, Nate could do nothing except call 911 for help.
Nathan was extremely emotional, crying, sobbing. He was in shock.
The authorities arrived at the crime scene and began searching for evidence. The investigators questioned Amanda's family members to determine who could have been responsible for this crime. However, her family couldn't think of anyone who would have done this heinous act to Amanda, as she was adored by everyone. Amanda's world radiated life, but her sudden death had now left everyone in shock. The detectives left no stone unturned in their search to find the real culprit.
This is a young woman who was well thought of. It's a nice neighborhood, Christian family, no history of any problems. Why would a young woman like this be murdered?
The Andersons were passionate hunters and had a diverse collection of guns. The investigators collected all the weapons from the house.
They had several guns in that house. In Texas, that's very common. I don't think they were real big hunters, but they enjoyed target shooting.
One of the things all investigators do is we will collect clothing of the person that is in immediate proximity to the victim. And that was done with her brother because he was the one that found her.
As the detectives examined Amanda's body, a shocking and unforeseen revelation came to light.
She had small caliber gunshot wounds, 2 to the top of the head, 1 to the right side of the head, and then 1 right in the forehead.
You don't shoot somebody 4 times in the head without intending to kill them. This is obviously an intentional act.
However, there was something that did not fit into the puzzle. According to Nate, he didn't enter Amanda's room, but he was somehow able to determine that she had been shot multiple times. How did he do this? The investigators insisted that it was difficult for an outsider to determine the exact number of shots.
You may think she has been shot, but you certainly wouldn't know how many times.
Nate's precise observation of Amanda's multiple gunshot wounds hinted at a deeper, hidden, more mysterious truth, leading investigators to question how he knew so much. This disturbing fact cast a shadow of suspicion over Nate, subtly implicating him as the prime suspect. Unfortunately, the investigators could not find any evidence that could lead them to a suspect, as the perpetrator had not left much behind.
We never got anything.
But to eliminate family members as suspects, they first interviewed Amanda's parents and her brother Nate. The detectives mostly focused on Nate, as he was the one who had discovered the body. During the interrogation, Nate's revelations disclose unexpected layers to the case.
Wednesday night, September the 15th. Can you tell me what you did that day? Just
all day?
Yes.
Well, I woke up, I got dressed for school, we went to school. And after that, we usually spend about 2 hours after school because I go home with my aunt, who's my teacher. So after that, we went to Grocer's, and we picked up a few groceries for them. Then I came home and was doing my homework for most of the day. And about, I don't know what time it was, but I didn't really look at my watch. I didn't have it on or with the time, but after a while, I was having trouble finding it. I just took the dog and went out for a jog through my trails out of my house. And I went out, my aunt lives, I don't know how far I went, but I was pretty far from the house. And I started jogging back. And when I got back, the door was kicked in. Then I went straight for my room. And Amanda's door was not shut, but like pulled to where you have to push it open, that's all. I went in my room, then I went and pushed her door open, and she was on the floor with some blood on her bed and on her carpet. I didn't pay attention that much, but then I went into a panic, and I was scared, so I went straight out of the room. I shut the door, and I went straight for a nearest phone or something, and called my dad. He was out to eat or something.
Okay. Well, let me back up here for a second. You know what? To do our investigation, to do a proper investigation, obviously we need to talk to you and have you kind of go through it step by step as to what happened, what you saw, what you heard. Let me ask you this. Did you know that your dad had called your sister at some point in time?
I knew that he wanted her to go pick up my mom at the hospital because we only had 2 cars, so
okay.
She was going to go.
Okay. Were you there when Amanda was talking to?
I was pretty much leaving the door.
Oh, okay.
So she was talking to him.
Okay. Do you have an idea of how long you went out for a jog? How long you were gone?
10 to 15 minutes.
Okay. So you saw the door kicked in, you said?
Yes.
Did you walk through that door?
Yes, sir.
And you went to your bedroom, you said?
I went and opened my room, looked around, and then I went to manage.
Okay. And so did you go into your sister's room or?
I opened the door and kind of stood in the doorway and just.
Okay. Did you actually go in there?
I didn't walk in near her. I kind of stayed at the doorway, just to look around and shoot. Then.
Mm-hmm. So you didn't go in and lean over her, shake her,
no.
Move her, roll over, anything like that?
Sure.
So you got out and do you remember where you went when you called your dad?
I went to the phone that was in the kitchen. We charged the charger.
So the house phone, it wasn't
Yes, sir.
on your cell. Do you own a cell phone?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
I don't have it now. My wallet, watch, and my cell phone is in my room.
Okay. What kind of phone is it?
It's iPhone.
Oh.
Nate explains the entire event as he'd explained it to the dispatcher, but there seems to be more to it. His revelations add a layer of mystery, making the truth harder to discern.
Do you know if your sister had any boyfriends? Or,
Not that I knew of.
if she's ever had any problems with anyone recently?
No.
She complained to anybody about somebody gave her the creeps or anything like that? So, when did you get? Do you remember what time you got home from school?
Well, we get off school at 1 o'clock, and we maybe 2:30 when I got home, around there.
And how did you get home?
With my Aunt Julie. She's in the waiting room.
Okay. So when you got home, you were the only one there.
Amanda was there. She was watching for her science class, or walks. I forget what class it was, but I wanted her to watch The Last of the Mohicans, so she was watching that when I got home.
That was on the big TV out there in the living room? That's when you got home at 2:30, she was there watching that show?
It should be still on that. Yes.
Well, can you tell me what you did after you got home?
I really made myself lunch, which I just made some nachos, and just got started on my homework. Because we have such short days, I bring home kind of a lot of homework.
Okay. So you made lunch and did what? I'm sorry.
Just began the homework.
Okay. Where do you normally do your homework?
On my desk in the room.
In your room. Where do you go to school?
Tyler Bosco Chapel.
Where is that?
It's, I don't know what road it's called it's on, but there's a school right next to the church. That's where we go to school.
Okay. Everything going okay there? You like it pretty much?
There's only 40 kids there, and we know everyone there. Everyone goes to our church, so.
Okay. Who do you think would want to hurt your sister?
I can't think of anyone who would want to hurt me. I don't know anyone would not like her. She was really nice.
We're trying to get any idea who would do this too. What do you think we got to do to him when we catch him?
Just put him in jail. I don't really know.
Nate's strange response towards the culprit is to put him in jail. This unveils his complete lack of emotion. The detectives attempt to approach Nate from various perspectives to obtain more precise information.
Is there anything you want to tell me about that might be able to help me?
I wouldn't know anyone who. All I can think of is that I know that some people have been robbing around here, around our neighborhood, and one guy during the middle of the summer pretty much came to our house and said in his wood he can find pipes and syringes that someone's been doing drugs back there, all kinds of stuff. And we've had some spray painting around the neighborhood. So.
You know, the guys that live north of you there. I say guys because I went to talk to them. Apparently, they're just guys that live there, but on the same side of the road that you're on. But as
the first house up the road.
Yeah.
It's that road.
The guy with the dogs.
Yes.
Have they ever tried to come down and talk to you guys, or come in your yard, or hang around your house, anything like that?
No.
Have you had any problems out of it at all?
Sometimes their trash kind of blows in our yard, but I just throw it back on your yard or something.
But you've never caught them nosing around, being nosy, anything like that?
I always wonder why there's like 5 or 6 cars in the driveway at a time. But
have you seen anyone over the past few weeks that came around the house and was being nosy, being, I lost my dog, or my car ran out of gas, or?
We've had some lost dog people just come around, like give us a flyer or something, or just ask if you've seen a dog. That's not anything.
What Nate is about to reveal promises to deepen the mystery and help the detectives narrow down who the culprit could be.
Do you know what happened to your sister? I mean, do you know how she was killed?
She was shot.
Do you remember what you told your dad when you called him? You remember what you told him?
I remember I was screaming and crying and telling him that she was. Well, I could kind of tell that she had been shot. There was blood on her face, and we have gone shooting with my dad. We hunt, so I could kind of smell a little bit of what it smells like after you shoot a gun.
Gunpowder. So you couldn't really tell she was shot once you stepped in the room?
I was just panicked. I could kind of gather that. I jumped to a conclusion really because she had blood on her face and I could smell that a little bit. And I shut the room, running for the phone.
Okay. So you called your dad, and then what happened after that, once you called your dad?
It was literally maybe a minute or two what it felt like after that, and the Smith County Sheriff's Department called me and was talking to me and waiting for the officer to come by. And after that, I went outside and just kind of fell, and then he took me to his car, and he started showing up.
You remember what phone you were on when you came out?
I was on the house phone. I think I left it on our sidewalk.
And so you came out and talked to the deputy. Remember what the deputy did with you?
He set me in the car and asked me if there was anyone else in the house. And I remember he got the tape, orange, yellow tape.
Oh, okay.
And he went in the house. Then Ryan, the guy from our church, came and started talking to me that he lived with my grandparents. More cops started showing up there.
What do you like to hunt for?
Whitetail.
Whitetail? When was the last time you went hunting?
Last year, maybe around Christmas, we went with my dad out to.
Okay. You ever seen any deer around your house?
Just seen some deer tracks over the years in our trails and stuff. I haven't really seen any, but my sister has.
Oh, okay.
The investigators are quite surprised by Nate's precision at shooting and are keen to know how he acquired such skill. His remarkable shooting skills seem almost too good to be true.
You like target practice on occasion?
More with guns. Yeah, I have a bow, but I'm really more of gun.
Oh, okay. I saw that target out there in the back, the yellow target. Yeah, bow. I didn't see it. Where was it?
It's in our back closet where all the shelves are. It's on the very top, on top of my dad's in cases.
Okay. Kind of give me an idea when was the last time you shot any of your guns or dad's guns?
Maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and back in the woods probably.
Oh, okay. Right back behind the house or way out in there? Or?
Not too far, just, like shot at like a squirrel or a rabbit I saw, maybe just shot at a tree or something.
Okay.
Kind of gun you carry back there when you hunt squirrels with?
Just a 22 pistol.
You have one, or is it?
They're my dad's in his. I don't have a 22. I have a 243 under the bag.
And I think it's similar to what you told your dad. You said that you thought your sister was shot in the head 3 or 4 times.
I don't know how many times. I was in such panic and shock. I probably never remember that set that much.
You said you've been hunting and killed whitetail and things, correct?
Not near the house. We've been in Nolan County.
Okay.
Sweetwater.
Right.
Several hours away.
Okay. How many animals would you say that you've shot?
I've killed one doe. 4.
What made you think that your sister was shot several times?
I could see blood on her face and on the carpet and stuff, and I could get a little bit of the smell of what the gunpowder smells like after it's been fired in the room.
And I hate to kind of go into this much detail, but it's kind of relevant. Other than the blood that you talked about on her face, was there something else? Because someone can be beat up bad, or someone can, other things happen to them that cause blood to get on their face.
I didn't seem to have her nose or like her mouth like she had been punched or hit by something.
Okay.
It was kind of on her head and stuff. But I really just jumped to a conclusion because I could smell that stuff and the mixture of blood on her head and on her bed floor.
So it was just more or less you're saying just a conclusion that you came to. You don't remember the same 3 or 4 times? How often do you all, other than you hunt squirrels around this, y'all target practice very often? I noticed y'all have a business card for the 31 West shooting range.
We haven't done that in a long time, maybe a year or so.
And I know sometimes brothers and sisters tell things to each other that you don't tell your parents. And I'm not trying to get you in trouble with your parents or anything, but kind of going back to your sister dating anybody or anything. I know sometimes parents don't approve, and not all parents get 2 kids, and I understand that. Is there anybody that Amanda told you, don't tell mom and dad that I've been talking to this guy, or I met a new guy at school, or this girl had a falling out, we don't like each other, she's kind of a violent person or anything like that?
No.
Nobody's come out of the house. Sounds like you and Amanda are home quite a bit during the daytime when mom and dad aren't there.
She gets out of school most of the time before I get home because she just my aunt and brings me home since I can't drive yet.
Okay. So, but there's nobody that she said anything about. She met at school or at work or anything. She works. Then she works also. So nobody that you know of that down the way.
Nate's emotionless demeanor and body language conveys a different story during the interrogation. Despite his close relationship with his sister, one would expect him to wish severe punishment for the culprit. However, when the detectives repeat the question, Nate's emotionally detached behavior and unvarying monotone throughout the interrogation surprises everyone.
I asked you this before, Nate. I want to ask you again. What do you think law enforcement should do to the individual that hurt your sister?
I don't know, just put him in jail for, I don't really know. No, I wouldn't want, like, jail or anything, no. Just jail, I guess.
Do you understand how the criminal justice system works? Well, if another human being takes life of another human being, sometimes they go to jail for a while. Sometimes, they go for jail the rest of their life. Sometimes it depends on the case, I guess, on what actually happened. Sometimes we just human beings make mistakes. Young ones, old ones, and everybody else in between, we make mistakes. If this person made a mistake, that he didn't really want to take your sister's life, do you think they should seek justice? Do you think we should do something with it, even though it was a mistake? It's just an accident.
If they saw her, then they had the choice not to or not, and they chose to.
You think they should go to jail?
After an exhaustive interrogation, and despite the detectives' best efforts, the evidence was not compelling enough to help them seal the case. However, the investigators didn't stop there. They worked tirelessly to try to get Amanda's case to reach its conclusion, and the search for more concrete proof continued. Initially, there was not enough evidence to help investigators identify the actual culprit. However, during the interrogations, some inconsistencies became apparent. As a result, the investigators decided to start from the beginning and reinvestigate the case.
When none of those leads come together, then our investigation began to get more narrow.
If you find yourself in a hole, you might ought to quit digging. We've got to go back to the basics. And the basics says start right back at the scene and go from there.
To piece together the puzzle once more, the investigators again checked all the weapons collected from Anderson's house. The detectives made a baffling discovery that turned the case in a new direction, guiding them towards the real culprit.
Sometimes just one tiny detail, something that doesn't sit right with you, oftentimes can solve the whole case.
The detectives reached a shocking conclusion that would entirely transform the case and unravel the mystery.
The tool mark expert eliminated all the guns in that house with the exception of the .22 caliber Ruger semi-automatic handgun. We couldn't get a 100% matchup on the other side of the coin. He could not exclude that gun. He said that he gave Nathan a Mark IV .22 caliber semi-automatic handgun. And he told me that Nathan had been out in the backyard shooting that gun.
As things pointed toward a final conclusion, the investigators wanted to be sure before they took further action.
But that evidence is circumstantial. It wasn't enough. Without substantiating evidence that's very concrete, this case was not going to be prosecuted.
They waited for the autopsy, and the results were startling. The discovery was as shocking as it was devastating.
You can think of spraying Windex in the air and what you see fall after you spray it, the mist, that's what kind of blood we're dealing with. I mean, very, very minute amounts.
It became very obvious from the reaction from these chemicals that there was blood on the clothing.
We look at each other and go, wow.
There's only one way to get high-velocity blood spatter on yourself, Either you're standing by the shooter or you are the shooter. When I saw the bloodstains, there was no doubt in my mind who that blood belonged to.
Without any forensic evidence to tie him to that scene, the case would have never been solved. It would be cold today if we didn't have that.
Her brother was a child and angelic looking, and none of us could imagine that he could do something like that.
It was difficult for the Andersons to accept the shock of losing both of their children. The investigators were prepared to take Nate as they had an arrest warrant.
There was no one in my agency that was happy about solving it. Because not only did the parents lose their daughter, but they were losing their son also.
On November 10th, 2010, 2 months after Amanda's death, the police arrested Nate Anderson.
He happened to be at church at the time. He was picked up for the murder of his sister.
Nate's parents insisted he could not have committed the crime because he had always loved his sister.
His family was horrified. They were furious. The church was furious. And for months, they did not believe that Nate could have done this.
However, this belief of theirs was shattered when Nate confessed to a psychologist hired by the defense about the murder of his sister. He was kept in solitary confinement for 9 months. Although he was a minor and the defense attorney had requested that he be placed in juvenile detention, the judge disagreed and issued a different sentence. Nathan would serve his time in an adult prison as he was found guilty of first-degree murder. On February 2nd, 2012, in a Texas courtroom, 16-year-old Nate Anderson was sentenced to 20 years in prison, with him being eligible for parole after serving 10 years in prison. Smith County Sheriff J.B. Smith had this to say about the motive. It was apparent to us it was a crime of hatred for this incident because there were no signs of any other trauma. Amanda and Nate's father gave a statement saying, "Nate confessed to me that he had killed his sister. He asked for my forgiveness, and I have forgiven him." Nate and Amanda appeared to share a sweet and loving bond that seemed to be unbreakable, but beneath the surface were hidden grudges that no one understood. There are cases like this that eventually make even the most beautiful relationships bitter and make us think about the human mind and its complexities. We would love to know your views on this complicated case, and what are your insights on the intricate nature of the human mind? Let us know in the comments below. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for such amazing videos.